The bar was called The Final Draft, a name Shirley found painfully pretentious. It was the kind of place that smelled of old books, good whiskey, and unspoken stories. And for the last 47 days, she had come here for one story in particular, his. He sat at his usual corner table like a misplaced comma, neither handsome nor plain. He seemed made of shadows and subtlety. He wore a dark, tailored suit and nursed a single glass of amber liquid he never quite finished. He never read a book, never looked at his phone, never seemed to do anything but exist, his gaze fixed on some distant, internal horizon. Shirley called him the Sphinx. Her mission, self-appointed and utterly compelling, was to make him talk, to crack the smooth, polished shell of his silence and expose the secret she knew was coiled inside. Day 12, the direct approach. Shirley slid into the chair opposite him without an invitation. "I'm Shirley," she said, her voice bright and challenging. "You've been drinking the same thing for 12 days. That's either profound dedication or a terrifying lack of imagination." He looked at her. His eyes were the color of a winter sky, and they held no surprise, no annoyance, no interest. He simply looked, gave a slow, almost imperceptible nod, and then returned his gaze to the middle distance. She talked for 10 minutes about her job as a freelance archivist, about the weather, about the peculiar stain on the ceiling that looked like Winston Churchill. He didn't utter a single word. She finally left, her cheeks burning with a mixture of embarrassment and renewed determination. Day 28, the sympathy play. She staggered to his table, fake wobbling and dabbing at pretend tears. "My parakeet," she sniffled, dropping into the chair. "He left me for the mailman. Writes him little letters." She spun a whole tale of avian betrayal, watching him for any reaction. Nothing. He took a slow sip of his drink, his expression as unreadable as stone. He did, however, silently push a fresh, clean napkin towards her before turning away. It was the most interaction she'd ever gotten, and it felt like a defeat. Day 41, the intellectual gambit. She brought a chessboard and set it down with a clack. "I'm unbeatable," she lied, opening with king's pawn. He studied her, then the board nudged a pawn and fell still again. The game lasted a week. They never spoke, only traded slow, brilliant moves. He checkmated her on the 47th move. As his knight trapped her king, he looked up at her, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes. Not triumph, but a faint, deep sadness. Then it was gone. Day 55, the provocation. Frustration boiled over. She marched to his table and leaned in close, her voice a low, sharp whisper. "Who are you hiding from? The police? A scorned lover? Did you leave someone behind? You carry that secret like it's a physical weight. I can see it bowing your shoulders." For a moment, his composure cracked. A muscle in his jaw twitched. His knuckles whitened on the table. When he looked at her, the winter in his eyes had become a blizzard. He stood, left a crumpled bill, and walked out, his unfinished drink gleaming in the dim light. Shirley's heart pounded. A reaction, finally. Fuel. Day 66, the bribe. She had found his one indulgence. After relentless pestering, the bartender confessed that the man always paid in cash, old crisp bills, and that once, only once, he'd asked for a rare Scotch from the Scottish Highlands, Glenmorangie. This continued for decades. Shirley spent a month's salary tracking down a single bottle. That evening, she placed it on his table with a soft thud. He stared at it. His breath hitched audibly. His hand trembled as he touched the dusty label. He looked at Shirley, eyes wide with something close to fear. He opened his mouth. Hope surged in her chest, then shut it again, pushed back his chair, and walked out without a backward glance. Shirley sat alone, dread seeping through her. She had broken the ritual. She had gone too far. Surely he would never return. But on day 67, he was there. He sat in his usual spot, but something in him had collapsed. His suit was the same, but his posture was heavier, burdened. He looked older, and on the table, between his unfinished drink and his second full glass, rested the unopened Glenmorangie. Shirley approached with reverence and sat. He spoke before she could. His voice was rough, brittle with disuse. His name was Alistair Finley, he said. My brother. We built a life and loved the same woman. No big fight, just quiet bitterness. The last thing I told him was an insult. That night he took his favorite bottle, this one, and drove off a cliff. The crash didn't break it. They found it intact in the wreckage. I've been searching for another ever since, as if finding it could unbreak him, unsay my words. Tears traced clean paths through the dust on his cheeks. My secret, he whispered, is that I am a ghost who eats and breathes. I come here to practice being a man who didn't kill his brother. The silence that followed was immense. The mystery was solved. The Sphinx was just a man, broken by grief and guilt. Shirley looked at him, at the raw, exposed nerve of his pain, and she felt her own eyes well up. She reached out and placed her hand over his. It was ice cold. I know. Arthur, she said softly. The world stopped. His head snapped up, his eyes wide with a fresh, more profound shock. No one had called him by his name in this city. No one was supposed to know it. How? He stammered. Shirley's smile was gentle, unbearably sad. Alistair didn't just send letters to your mother, you know. He sent them to me, too, for the last year of his life. He was my client. I was archiving his personal papers. He talked about you constantly. His brilliant, stoic big brother, Arthur, who he idolized. The fight you mentioned? He wrote that he was going to come see you the next day to apologize. He said he was going to bring that bottle as a peace offering. The crash was just that, a crash. An accident on a wet road. She squeezed his hand. He never blamed you. Not for a second. I've known who you were since the day you first walked in here, carrying this monument to a guilt you never earned. I wasn't trying to uncover your secret, Arthur. I was trying to show you that you didn't have to carry it anymore. I was trying to set you free. Arthur Finley stared at her, the story of his life, the narrative he had clung to for survival, crumbling to dust around him. The mystery man had been unmasked, not by a clever tactic, but by a truth he had been too blind to see. And the woman across from him wasn't a stranger, but a keeper of his brother's final, forgiving words. He looked down at their joined hands, then at the bottle. Slowly, deliberately, he pulled his hand away, picked up the bottle of Glenmorangie, and uncorked it. The sound was a release. He poured a generous measure into the second glass and pushed it towards Shirley. Then he poured his own, filling his usual glass to the brim. He raised his glass. His hand was steady. To Alistair, he said, his voice clear for the first time. To Alistair, Shirley echoed. And for the first time in 67 days, Arthur Finley finished his drink.